The city was cold that night. Rain fell softly on empty streets, washing away the noise and color of the day. Lights flickered through the mist, and the smell of wet concrete filled the air. People walked fast, their coats pulled tight. Eyes down, hearts closed. They did not notice the small figure sitting near a broken streetlight. Her name was Lena. She looked about 16, maybe younger. Her hair tangled and her clothes torn. Her hands were wrapped around a paper cup with a few coins clinking inside. No one looked at her, no one spoke to her in this world. The homeless were invisible. Lena had been on these streets for months. She slept under bridges, in alleys, sometimes in bus stations when she was lucky. Every day was a battle for food, warmth, and safety. But even in her pain, she had something most others had lost: kindness. She still smiled at strangers, still fed birds, still whispered small prayers to the night sky. That night, as the rain grew heavier, Lena found shelter under a half-collapsed roof. She was shivering when she saw movement near the trash bin. A tiny cat, soaked and trembling, meowed weakly. It looked half dead, its fur thin and dirty. Eyes half open, Lena's heart broke. She reached into her small bag and pulled out the only piece of bread she had saved. It was hard and old, but it was all she had. She broke it in half, one part for her, one part for the cat. The little animal hesitated, then crawled toward her. It ate slowly, tail shaking. As Lena smiled, "It's okay, little one, we'll share," she whispered. For a few minutes the world felt warm again. Rain still fell, thunder still rolled. But there was peace in that small corner of the city. No one saw the act of kindness. No one thanked her, yet far above the clouds, something did, high in orbit, invisible to human eyes. A small silver sphere hovered silently. It was not of Earth, it watched through a glowing lens. Recording Lena's every move inside that sphere, an alien intelligence spoke in a soft, echoing voice. Subject, human female. Low social status, yet displays empathy despite deprivation. Another voice replied, metallic and cold. Unusual, most humans at that survival level act only for themselves. The first voice paused, watching Lena stroke the cat's fur. Perhaps this one is different. Down below, Lena hummed softly, a tune from her childhood. She didn't know who she was singing to. Maybe herself. Maybe the stars. She closed her eyes and whispered, "If anyone's listening, please help me." At that moment the sphere blinked, sending a signal across the dark void of space. The message traveled faster than light. Reaching a network of ships hidden beyond the moon, a command echoed through the fleet. Observation Level 1. Humanity file updated. Emotional variance detected, but no one on Earth knew. Lena slept that night with the cat in her arms. The rain stopped before dawn, and the city lights faded as morning came. When she opened her eyes, she saw something strange on the ground beside her, a small silver feather glowing faintly. She picked it up, confused. It was warm, almost alive. She looked up at the sky, searching for a bird, but there was none. Only the faint hum of something high above. Disappearing into the clouds, she smiled weakly, whispering, "Maybe it's a sign." She didn't know that her small act of kindness had already been seen across the stars, and that in a world far beyond her imagination, ancient beings had started to talk about the homeless girl who cared. The universe had noticed her, and nothing would ever be the same again. The night came again, darker than before. The rain had stopped, but the air still felt heavy, filled with strange silence. Lena sat beside a small fire made from old papers and wood. The cat, now her little friend, slept beside her feet. The glowing feather she had found still rested safely in her pocket. Sometimes she took it out and watched it shine softly in her hands. It made her feel less alone, but tonight the air around her felt different. The streetlights flickered like someone was playing with the city's power. The air buzzed faintly like electricity whispering to the wind. Lena looked up at the dark sky, and for a second, she thought she saw a star moving, then another. Then a streak of blue light rushed across the clouds and vanished behind an old warehouse. She stood up, heart beating fast. Her instincts told her to stay away, but her curiosity pulled her forward. For the first time in a long while, she felt something. Purpose. The cat meowed as if warning her, but she whispered, "I'll be right back." "Little one." The streets were empty as she walked toward the old warehouse. Broken windows, rusted metal, and graffiti covered the walls. But there was something else. A soft humming sound coming from inside. It wasn't a generator or a car engine. It sounded alive, like the air itself was breathing. When Lena stepped inside, the world changed. The air shimmered, and light pulsed through the darkness like waves in water. In the center of the warehouse stood a small glowing shape. It looked like a pod, half melted. Smoke rising from its sides, she could smell metal, heat, and something sweet, like burnt honey. Then she heard it, a soft cry and high-pitched. Weak and trembling, she froze, her eyes scanning the shadows behind a pile of boxes. She saw it, a small creature, its skin was silver blue. Eyes large and glowing faintly, it looked hurt, clutching its side where dark liquid was dripping. It tried to move but fell, letting out a painful sound. Lena gasped softly. Every story she had ever heard about aliens flashed in her mind. Monsters, invaders, danger, but this wasn't a monster. It was small, scared and hurt. It looked like a child. She stepped closer, slow and careful. "Hey." "It's okay," she whispered. The creature flinched, its hand glowing faintly in defense, but Lena lifted both her hands to show peace. "I won't hurt you," she said gently. She tore a piece of cloth from her coat and knelt beside it. Its skin felt cold but soft. Like smooth glass under her fingers, the wound was deep, and the strange blue blood shimmered like stars. She wrapped the cloth around the wound as gently as she could. The creature stared at her, breathing fast. Its glowing eyes blinked slowly, then dimmed in a broken, mechanical voice. It whispered, "Why? Help me?" Lena smiled sadly. "Because you needed it," she said simply. "That's what people should do." For a long moment, neither moved. The pod behind them flickered again, then vanished, like it had never existed. Lena looked around in shock, but there was no one else. Only her and the creature and the cold, silent night. She pulled her old blanket around the small being. It looked weak and tired. Its hand trembled as it touched her face. Curious. "Human," it said softly. "Name?" "Lena," she replied. "You?" "Aaron," the creature said, pointing to itself. They sat together in the darkness, two lost souls from different worlds. Outside, the city slept, not knowing that a secret meeting between species had just happened in its shadow, but far above in the black ocean of space. That secret did not stay hidden. A massive ship floated beyond the atmosphere, silent and invisible to human eyes inside. Alien figures watched through glowing screens. One of them, a tall being covered in armor, hissed in disbelief. "The human touched him?" Another replied, "Yes, Commander." She helped the exiled one. The commander's eyes glowed red. "That is forbidden. No human must ever make contact. Prepare the retrieval order. On Earth." Lena had no idea that her act of kindness had just broken one of the oldest laws in the galaxy. As dawn began to rise, she carried Aaron back to her small corner of the city. She hid him under her blanket, gave him water and whispered softly, "You'll be safe here." "I promise." Aaron looked at her with tired eyes. "Safe," he repeated and slowly drifted into sleep. Lena sat beside him, watching the city wake up. Cars honked, people shouted. The world moved like nothing had changed. But something had somewhere far away. Stars began to move, ships preparing, commands being given. The universe had taken notice of a homeless girl who dared to care, and soon, the consequences of her kindness would come falling from the sky. The sun rose slowly over the city, painting the gray streets in gold and light. But for Lena, the morning brought no peace. She sat quietly beside the small alien child, Aaron, who still slept under her blanket. His glowing skin dimmed now, his breathing soft. He looked almost human when he slept. Lena wondered who he really was, where had he come from, and what would happen if someone found him. She gently touched the glowing feather still in her pocket. It seemed to pulse faintly, like it was alive. Maybe it was connected to him, she thought. Maybe it was a message from wherever he came, but deep down, she didn't know that the feather was far more than a symbol. It was a signal, and it had already been answered. Far beyond Earth's sky, above the blue oceans and white clouds, a council gathered, not of humans, but of ancient beings from across the stars. They met inside a massive ring-shaped station orbiting a crimson sun. The room was silent, filled with light that shifted like water. 12 beings sat in a circle, each one from a different world. They called themselves the Galactic Council, and they had one rule above all others: no contact with humans. The oldest among them, the one called Vorthan, spoke first. His voice was deep and heavy, echoing across the hall. "A human has broken the divide." A ripple of gasps and low murmurs filled the chamber. A hologram flickered in the air. showing Lena feeding Aaron. Her hands gentle, her eyes filled with compassion. The sight caused unease among the council. She touched the child, said another voice, cold and sharp. She interfered with a fallen member of the Koran species. A creature made of crystal spoke next. We should erase her and remove all memory of the event. But Forthan raised a hand, silencing them. She did not act with malice. She helped. Even when she had nothing, that statement stirred confusion. The council was used to power, order, and logic, not kindness. No human had ever been observed showing mercy to a non-human being. They believed humans were too young, too dangerous, too emotional, but now, one small act of compassion had forced them to question their law. If we forgive one, said the crystal being, we invite chaos. They will think the galaxy is open to them. If we punish her, said another, a creature of smoke, we destroy the only thing that proves hope still exists. As the debate continued high above the human world, invisible ships began to move, sleek and silent. They carried the council's command. Their mission, retrieve the alien child and erase all evidence of contact. That included the human girl back on Earth. Lena was trying to keep Aaron hidden. She had moved him to an old underground shelter where no one came anymore. It was dark but safe. She had found old blankets and bottles of water. Aaron was weak but healing slowly. Every time she looked at him, she felt warmth in her chest. You'll be okay, she said softly. Aaron blinked his glowing eyes and tried to smile. You kind Lena, he said in his broken voice. His words made her smile back. You talk better now, she said. He nodded weakly. Learning, human language. For a moment she forgot the world. Forgot the hunger, the cold, the fear. She was caring for someone again. Something she thought she would never do. But that peace didn't last. The air began to hum again. That strange electric sound. The lights in the tunnel flickered. Aaron's eyes widened, glowing brighter with fear. They come, he whispered, his voice shaking. Who? Lena asked. Council. Soldiers, that they find me. They erase all. Lena's heart pounded. She didn't understand much, but she understood danger. She grabbed her small bag, helped Aaron to his feet. Then we run, she said. They moved through the tunnels, every sound echoing like thunder. Aaron stumbled, his energy fading, but Lena held his hand tight. Don't stop, she whispered. You're not alone now. Above the city, the sky began to shimmer to ordinary humans. It looked like the aurora, green and blue waves dancing, but it wasn't. It was the cloaking field of alien ships entering Earth's atmosphere. Dozens of silver drones broke formation and began scanning the surface, each one searching for a faint energy signature, the child's energy. When they found it, they would destroy everything nearby. Inside one of those ships, the same voice from the council echoed, Do not harm the Koran child. Retrieve him. Eliminate the human. The soldiers nodded, their armor glowing faintly with alien symbols. Down below, Lena and Aaron hid behind an old subway wall. The ground shook as a beam of light cut through the ceiling above them. Concrete cracked, dust filled the air. Aaron looked terrified. His body flickering like a dying flame, Lena held him close and whispered, I won't let them take you. And somewhere far beyond, on the council station, Vorthan closed his many eyes. He could feel something changing in the air, something powerful. The law's being tested, he murmured. And this time it might break. Back on Earth? Lena took a deep breath. She didn't know what the council was, or why the universe suddenly cared about her. She only knew one thing. She had saved a life, and she would fight to keep it safe above her. The night sky began to burn with silent fire. The war for one act of kindness had begun. The night had returned to the city, but this time it was not quiet. The wind carried a strange energy, a deep hum that made windows shake. Lena and Aaron ran through dark tunnels under the old streets. Their footsteps echoed like ghosts, mixing with the distant thunder above. Aaron's glow flickered with every breath, his strength fading, but Lena refused to stop. She gripped his hand tightly, whispering, Keep moving. We'll find a way, far above, hidden by the clouds. The alien ships spread across the sky like silent storms. Their cloaking fields shimmered in invisible waves, bending light and sound. To humans, the city looked normal, but in truth, it was surrounded by beings from another world. The council's drones searched every street, every shadow. Following the trace of the Koran child's energy, they moved like hunters, silent, perfect, merciless, inside one of the ships. A commander watched the scans. Her name was Serath, a soldier of the Council, loyal and cold. "Target located," a voice said. A map appeared before her. Blinking red deep below the earth, Serath's metallic eyes narrowed. "Send ground units," she ordered. "The child lives. But the human must be erased." The words were calm, but her tone carried no mercy. Down below, Lena and Aaron stopped to catch their breath. They were deep in the old subway tunnels, a place forgotten by time. Water dripped from the ceiling. Rats scurried through broken tiles. Lena could hear her heart pounding. Aaron leaned against the wall, weak and pale, his glow almost gone. "They are close," he whispered. "They can smell my energy," Lena frowned. "Then we need to hide it," she said. She tore her dirty scarf and wrapped it around his arm where the light was brightest. It didn't hide the glow completely, but it dimmed it enough. Aaron looked at her with tired eyes. "Why? You help?" he asked softly. Lena smiled faintly. "Because no one helped me when I needed it," she said. "I won't be like them." Her words carried warmth even in the cold tunnel. Aaron blinked slowly. A single tear, glowing silver, slid down his cheek. "Humans. Strange," he whispered. "Strange but kind." Suddenly, the tunnel filled with light. A blinding white beam cut through the darkness. The walls cracked as energy surged. Lena shielded Aaron, falling to the ground as metal drones descended through the hole above. They looked like floating spiders made of glass and fire, each one scanning with glowing red eyes. "Run!" Aaron shouted, his voice stronger for a moment. Lena grabbed his hand again and sprinted. The drones fired. Blue light sliced through the tunnel, melting pipes and stone. The air turned to smoke and ash. Lena jumped over debris, her lungs burning. Behind them, the tunnel exploded, shaking the earth. They turned a corner and stumbled into an old train car left buried under dust. Lena slammed the rusty door shut and hid behind it. Her breathing was fast, her eyes wide. Aaron placed his hand on the floor. A faint pulse of light spread out like ripples in water. "They stop. For now," he whispered. "I used shield. Cannot last long." Lena looked at him in awe. "You can do that?" "Energy of Koran people," he said weakly. "We use light to protect." "But light fading," she touched his shoulder gently. "Then save it, I'll protect you." For a moment, they just sat in silence. The world outside burned, but in that small train car there was peace. Then Aaron looked at her, eyes glowing faintly. "Lena, if they find us, they take me." "I know," she said. "And you die." Lena froze. Aaron looked down, his voice soft. "Law of galaxy. No human can touch Koran. They erased to protect secret." Her heart sank. So this was the truth. Not only was he hunted, but so was she. Still she smiled, shaking her head. "Then they'll have to catch me first," she said firmly. Aaron stared at her, confused. "You are not afraid?" "Of dying?" she whispered. She looked at the cracked metal wall beside her. "No, I was dying long before I met you." Then she looked at him again, her eyes steady. "But now, for the first time, I'm living for something high above the earth." Serath watched the map again. The human girl's actions puzzled her. She turned to the other officers. Why does she risk her life for the child? No one answered. In their world, compassion was rare, dangerous even. Serath frowned. "This emotion, it breaks logic." She paused for a moment, then gave a new order. "Capture the child alive. Bring the human as well. I want to see her myself." Hours later, the tunnel quieted again. Lena and Aaron moved carefully through the shadows. The air smelled of smoke and iron. Every sound echoed like thunder, but then far away, Lena saw a faint light in the surface. They were close. She felt hope rise in her chest. "Almost there," she whispered. But as they stepped forward, the ground shook violently. The tunnel collapsed behind them. Blocking their escape, dust filled the air, and Lena coughed. Out of the smoke, silver shapes appeared. Tall, armored figures with glowing eyes. Aaron gasped. "Council soldiers," he whispered. Lena stood in front of him, her small body trembling but her voice strong. "You'll have to go through me first," she said. The soldiers raised their weapons, their lights flashing, but before they could fire, Aaron lifted his hand. A bright wave of light exploded from his palm. The energy threw everyone back, including Lena, for a second. The whole tunnel glowed like a sun, then everything went black. When Lena opened her eyes, she was floating, not in water, but in air, weightless, surrounded by stars. Aron's voice echoed faintly beside her. "They found us," he whispered. She turned her head, eyes wide. They were no longer on Earth. They were surrounded by ships, massive and silent, stretching across the endless sky, and far ahead, a light brighter than all others, the Galactic Council, waiting. Lena didn't know what awaited her next. But one thing was clear. Her choice to care had brought her to the heart of the universe itself. And soon, all of creation would know her name. Lena woke up to a soft light touching her face. For a moment she thought it was morning on Earth, the sun rising over the city. But when she opened her eyes, she saw stars, endless and close, like she could reach out and touch them. She was floating inside a glass sphere, her body weightless, her heart pounding. Every breath felt heavy, like the air was made of light. Below her there was no ground, only clouds of gold and silver swirling in slow motion. She pressed her hands against the transparent wall of the sphere, trying to understand where she was. Then she saw other shapes moving in the distance, giant floating platforms, glowing towers and bridges made of pure energy. It was like a city made of stars. It was beautiful and terrifying. A soft voice echoed in her head, not through sound but through thought. "Human subject Lena of Earth, you are summoned before the Galactic Council." Her chest tightened. "The Council?" she whispered. "Why me?" The sphere moved on its own, gliding across the sea of light through the glass. She could see ships, massive silver vessels shaped like wings. Strange beings of light floated beside her sphere, guiding it silently. Their faces were hidden, but she could feel their eyes watching her. She felt small, like smaller than ever before. At the far end of the glowing city stood a grand circular hall. The sphere stopped before it, and the wall in front of her opened with a soft hum. Lena stepped out slowly, her feet touching a floor that wasn't solid. It felt like standing on a cloud, soft but firm. Her heart raced as she looked around. 12 thrones floated in a ring around her. On each sat a being, tall, ancient, and radiant. Their shapes were strange. Some looked like living crystal, others like mist, others like flame wrapped in armor. Their eyes burned like stars. At the center of them all sat Vorthen, the oldest among them, his face calm but his presence vast and heavy. "You are the human who broke the law?" Vorthen said, his voice echoing through the hall. Lena's knees almost gave out, but she stood tall. "I didn't break anything," she said softly. "I just helped someone who was hurt." A wave of murmurs spread across the council. The air shimmered like a ripple through water. One of the beings, made of sharp blue light, leaned forward. "You touched the Corrin child," it said coldly. "You endangered 2 worlds by your act," Lena frowned. "Endangered?" she whispered. "I saved him." Another voice, deep and metallic, replied, "Your kindness is not permission. It is contamination." The words hit her like a slap, but instead of fear, she felt anger rise. "Contamination?" she repeated. "He was bleeding." He was scared. What kind of beings call that contamination? The council fell silent. No one had ever spoken to them like that before. Even the guards outside froze. Unsure what to do, Vorthen looked down at her, his many eyes glowing softly. "You speak with courage," he said, "but courage cannot erase law." At that moment, a door opened behind her. Lena turned, Marda, and her breath caught. 2 armored guards floated in, carrying a small glowing figure between them. It was Aron, his body weak, his light dimmed. "No," Lena whispered, running forward. But an invisible barrier stopped her. Aron lifted his head weakly. "Lena," he said softly, his voice trembling. "I am sorry." The guards placed him before the council. Vorthen spoke again. "The Corrin child violated the boundaries of our law. He fell to a forbidden world and made contact with a human. Both must now face judgment." Lena's voice cracked. "Judgment? For saving each other?" Her fists clenched, her eyes shining with tears. "You talk about peace and order, but what kind of order punishes kindness?" The hall grew darker. Some of the beings whispered among themselves. For the first time in centuries, the council was divided. One of them said, "She speaks truth." "Perhaps the law is flawed," another replied sharply. "Flawed? The law protects the galaxy from chaos." Vorthen raised his hand, silencing them. "Enough," he said calmly. He looked down at Lena, his voice softer now. "Human, tell us why you helped the child, knowing it could bring danger to you." Lena's voice shook. But she answered without hesitation. Because no one else would, she said. Because he was alone and scared just like me. She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with tears. You have your ships, your laws, your power. But if all that makes you forget compassion, then maybe you're the ones who need saving. The chamber fell silent again. Even the energy lights flickered. Aaron looked up at her with pride. His small hand pressed to the glass. Lena, heart of stars, he whispered, his voice faint but clear. His words echoed through the hall like music. Some council members looked away. Unable to meet her eyes, Vorthen sat still, his expression unreadable. Then finally he spoke. This council will decide your fate at dawn. Until then, you and the child shall remain under watch. With a wave of his hand, guards surrounded her again. A bubble of light formed around her and Aaron, lifting them into the air as they floated away. Lena looked back at the council and said softly, You can judge me all you want, but I know I did the right thing. Her voice carried through the chamber long after she was gone. Vorthen closed his eyes, feeling something he hadn't felt in 1,000 years. Doubt. The other beings looked at him, waiting for his command. But the great leader only whispered to himself, Maybe the human is right, far away. Inside the crystal prison, Lena held Aaron's hand. He was weak, but he smiled faintly. You are not afraid, he said. I am, she whispered, but I'm more afraid of a world without kindness. As they floated in silence, a strange glow filled the chamber. The feather in Lena's pocket began to shine brighter than ever before. Unseen by the guards, it pulsed with ancient energy, sending a signal far across the universe. Something powerful was awakening, and by the next sunrise, the galaxy would no longer be the same. The galaxy did not sleep that night. Across hundreds of worlds, from ice planets to crystal moons, the same whisper moved through the stars. A human had broken the ancient law. A human had shown kindness to a being from another world, and now, the Galactic Council was about to decide whether compassion was a crime. Inside the Grand Chamber of Light, the 12 beings of the Council gathered once more. The hall was darker than before, filled with tension and silence. The stars outside burned brighter, as if the universe itself waited to hear what they would say. Vorthen, the elder among them, sat still, his many eyes closed, lost in thought. Before him floated 2 spheres, one holding the Koran child, Aaron, and the other holding Lena, the human, both of them surrounded by shimmering light, separated but close enough to see each other. Lena sat quietly, her hands pressed against the glass. Her eyes were tired but calm. She had cried earlier, but now there were no tears left. Aaron floated across from her. Weak but still glowing faintly, he looked at her and whispered through the link of energy between them. They will not listen, she smiled softly. Then we make them listen. The council's leader raised his staff, and the hall filled with sound again. We begin the final hearing, he said. The law of no human contact has been broken. The accused have spoken. Now we must decide. The crystal being, sharp and blue, was the first to speak. The human knew nothing of our world, yet she touched the forbidden. She must be erased. Another being, one made of mist and silver light, disagreed. Erase her? For showing mercy? Are we that empty? The crystal being hissed. Mercy has cost civilizations before. The law protects us all. Voices rose one after another. Some wanted punishment, others wanted change. But for the first time in centuries, the council was divided. Even the stars outside flickered restlessly. Reflecting their confusion, Lena's voice broke the chaos. She pressed her hand to the glass, her voice trembling but clear. You talk about laws and rules, she said. But what about hearts? What about right and wrong? Her words echoed, soft yet powerful. I didn't care where he came from. I just saw someone who needed help. Isn't that what life should be about? Her voice silenced the room. Even the guards lowered their eyes. Vorthen opened his and looked at her. You believe kindness is greater than law? He asked. Yes, she said without hesitation. Because law without kindness is just fear. Aaron raised his small glowing hand, his energy flickering weakly. She saved me, he said softly. When my ship fell, I thought I would die. My people would have left her to suffer, but she did not. He looked at the council, his voice shaking. If this is wrong, then maybe your law is wrong too. The words of a child, and yet they hit harder than any weapon. The council sat in stunned silence. Vorthen's eyes glowed brighter. He had seen galaxies rise and fall, but never had he heard truth spoken so simply. Far away, deep in space, something was responding. The feather in Lena's pocket pulsed brighter and brighter. It was not just a signal, it was a call from beyond the edge of known space. Ancient ships began to stir. They were the archivists, watchers of all life in the universe, beings older than the Council itself. They had created the laws long ago, but they had also sworn to appear when compassion was found in darkness. As the Council debated, the ceiling of the hall began to glow. A strange wind swept through the chamber. Though there was no air, light poured in from every direction. The Council members looked up, alarmed. "Impossible," one of them whispered. "The archivists." They awakened. The room filled with golden light as three vast shapes appeared above them. They were not solid beings, but vast energies shaped like wings and flame. Their voices were like thunder and music combined. "Children of the stars," they spoke as one. "We have watched your laws. We have watched your hearts. And now we watch a human remind you what you have forgotten." The Council bowed. Even Vorthen lowered his head. Lena stood frozen. Her breath caught in her throat. The light of the archivist wrapped around her. "You gave when you had nothing," the voices said. "You cared when the universe turned away. That is what it means to be alive." Vorthen raised his eyes. "Then, what is your judgment?" he asked. The golden light pulsed softly. "The law will change," they said. "No more shall compassion be forbidden. No more shall fear rule over kindness. Let this human live and let the stars remember her name." The chamber trembled, the walls shining with new light, the crystal being tried to protest. "But it will bring chaos." The archivist's light flared brighter. "No, it will bring hope." Lena felt her sphere open. The glass vanished and she fell softly onto the glowing floor. Aaron floated down beside her, his light stronger now. The chains of energy around them faded away. Vorthen looked at her with respect. "Your heart has changed the galaxy, little one," he said. "You are free." Tears filled Lena's eyes. She turned to Aaron, smiling through them. "You're safe now," she said. "We're both safe." Aaron reached into the air, and from the light came a small crystal. He handed it to her. "Gift," he said. "When you look at sky, I will hear you." She took it gently, her hands shaking. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled. "No, Lena." "Thank you." The archivist began to fade, their voices echoing through every corner of the universe. "Remember this day," they said, "for one act of humanity has moved the stars." And just like that, the light faded. The Council sat in silence, their laws rewritten, their hearts changed. Lena looked out at the endless sky beyond the chamber. It felt warmer now, brighter. She could feel it. The universe itself had taken a breath. The decision had been made, and nothing would ever be the same again. The night over Earth was calm. The rain had stopped days ago, and the sky looked clearer than ever before. Stars shone brighter, as if someone had polished the heavens. No one on Earth knew that the universe itself had changed. But one person did. The girl who once slept under broken roofs. The girl the stars now called by name. Lena sat on the same old street corner where everything had begun. Her torn blanket wrapped around her shoulders. But this time she was not the same broken soul. The crystal that Aaron had given her glowed softly in her palm. It hummed like a heartbeat. Slow, gentle, alive. Each glow carried a whisper, a voice she knew well. "Lena, you are never alone." She smiled faintly, looking up at the night sky. The city around her moved as usual, people walking fast, cars passing, no one noticing the homeless girl. But she didn't feel invisible anymore, because somewhere above those clouds, entire worlds now spoke her name. Children in faraway galaxies were learning the story of the human who showed mercy. Even on planets she would never see, statues were being built, not of warriors or kings, but of a girl holding a small alien child. Her act of kindness had become a symbol, a spark of light that traveled across time and space. On the Galactic Council world, things had changed too. The great chamber no longer glowed cold and white. Now, it shone with soft golden light, the color of hope. The ancient law had been rewritten, and Vorthen, the elder, often looked up at the stars and whispered, "One human changed us all, even Sarath." The once cold commander had left the army. She now taught young beings about empathy, about courage. Whenever someone asked who inspired her, she would simply say, a girl from a small blue planet. But back on Earth, Lena's days were still simple. She helped others the same way she once helped Aaron. She gave her food to the hungry, her blanket to those shivering in the cold. People still ignored her, but she didn't mind, because she had seen what kindness could do. It could reach the stars. Sometimes at night she would tell stories to children from the nearby shelter, stories about the galaxy, about lightships and glowing beings. They would laugh, thinking it was all imagination. Lena would just smile and whisper, "Maybe it is. Maybe it's more." One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the crystal in her hand began to glow brighter. She felt a warmth spread through her chest. She looked up, and the stars above seemed to move, shifting into new patterns. Then she saw it, a trail of blue light racing across the sky. It wasn't a shooting star, it was a ship, small and familiar. Humming softly, her eyes widened. "Aaron," she whispered. The ship descended silently. Landing in an empty field beyond the city, Lena ran, her heart pounding with joy and disbelief. The grass glowed faintly under her feet as she approached. The ship opened, and from within stepped a figure, taller now, stronger but still glowing with that same soft light. "You grew," Lena said, tears filling her eyes. Aaron smiled, his voice warm and gentle. "And you changed the universe." He walked closer and placed his hand over hers, the crystal pulsing between them. "Your story is known everywhere now," he said, "because of you. Humans are no longer forgotten." Lena laughed softly, shaking her head. "I didn't mean to change anything," she said. "I just didn't want someone to die alone." Aaron looked at her with deep respect. "And that is why you changed everything." Above them, the sky opened like a curtain. Stars shifted and aligned into shapes of light, forming words in an ancient alien language. But somehow Lena understood. It said, "Humanity has been seen." Her heart swelled with emotion. She had once begged the sky to notice her, and now the sky answered. Aaron took a step back, his light glowing brighter. "The council wishes to offer you something," he said. "A choice." Lena tilted her head. "A choice?" "Yes," he said softly. "You can stay here on Earth and live your life in peace. Or you can come with me, to the stars, to teach others what kindness truly means." She looked at him for a long time, the wind playing with her hair, her eyes turned toward the city, her small world of pain and love. Then she looked up at the endless sky, her other world. Waiting, she smiled. "The stars can wait," she said. "There are still people here who need me." Aaron nodded, his glow softening. "Then we will keep watch," he said. He stepped back toward his ship. "When you call, we will come." Lena raised the crystal high, the light reflecting in her eyes. "And I will never stop believing," she whispered. The ship lifted slowly, leaving trails of silver dust in the air. As it vanished into the clouds, the crystal in her hand pulsed once, strong and steady. Lena looked up, her smile filled with peace. The cat she had once fed brushed against her leg, purring softly. She bent down, petting it gently. "You see, little one," she said, "sometimes even the smallest kindness can move the biggest things." That night, as she sat under the same broken streetlight, the world seemed quieter. A soft breeze passed through the city, and every star above shimmered as if nodding to her, somewhere across galaxies. Beings remembered her story, the girl who had nothing, yet gave everything, the human who cared when no one else did. And in every corner of the cosmos, her name became a whisper of hope. "Lena," they said. "The girl who changed the stars." The universe had seen her, and it would never forget her again.